24 hours. That's all it took for West Asia to once again hurtle towards a dangerous phase of uncertainty. A chilling reminder once again of just how precarious the situation in the region is. For now, an uneasy calm prevails. Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to a ceasefire. That is what a senior U.S. official has told Reuters. This comes after a major flare-up as Israel intensified its military campaign in southern Lebanon, raising fears the fragile agreement could unravel before formal negotiations are completed. In fact, talks between the U.S. and Iran were called off today. Iranian officials did not travel as planned to Switzerland, and the U.S. Vice President also cancelled that trip. This came after intense fighting between Israel and Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Israel's military earlier struck targets in southern and eastern Lebanon overnight. And Hezbollah reported intense fighting. As per an update that came in just a short while back, the Lebanese health ministry saying that Israeli airstrikes and bombardments killed at least 47 people and injured 97 others in Lebanon. The dead, according to them, included at least 7 women and 2 children, while Israel earlier said 4 soldiers died. Remember, the U.S. and the Iranian president basically signed that 14-point MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, earlier to extend the ceasefire, including in Lebanon. And the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah has been, in a way, the most precarious part of that agreement. Before the announcement of the ceasefire, as the situation remained tense on the verge of exploding all over again, Netanyahu even said earlier in the day that the Israeli army will stay in Lebanon as long as necessary and that Israel will make Hezbollah pay, quote-unquote, a heavy price for its soldiers killed. While the Iranian foreign minister earlier in the day accused Israel of wanting a permanent war, following remarks from its far-right national security minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, saying all of Lebanon must burn after the 4 Israeli soldiers were killed there. So a lot has happened earlier in the day itself. And here's why these developments, along with the latest announcement of that ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, are extremely significant. For example, according to Iran's GRAVITAS statement earlier, talks with the U.S. are bound by Tehran's red lines. And on Thursday, Israel also published a map showing an expanded military control zone in southern Lebanon and said it would not rule out carrying out attacks beyond it, thereby challenging the terms of that U.S.-Iran pact that, remember, calls for Lebanon's sovereignty to be respected. This happened on Thursday. Remember, the interim pact signed to end the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran calls for an end to fighting on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and for the parties to ensure the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. So the question remains, just how far will Netanyahu go? From here onwards, what happens? The spotlight remains on the developments in Lebanon and Iran's allies in the region as well to determine what lies ahead. Will the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah last? The agreement, which the U.S. and Iran signed this week, triggering a 60-day negotiation period for the two to reach a formal peace deal, and the talks were supposed to start in Switzerland today itself. The deal provided a ray of hope for not just West Asia, but for the entire world, given the far-reaching ripple effects of the war so far. A fresh political and intelligence storm has erupted in the United States over the origins of COVID-19. Here's what's happened. On her final day as the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard released newly declassified documents that she claims exposed the links between U.S.-funded research, China's Wuhan Institute of Virology, and the actions of former top American health official Dr. Anthony Fauci. And the allegations once again reigniting that debate over whether the pandemic may have originated from a laboratory accident. In a statement accompanying the release, she said the COVID-19 pandemic caused tremendous hardship and pain for millions around the world, and that after years of lies, censorship and cover-ups, quote unquote, the American people deserve transparency, truth and accountability. In a post on X, she said that on her final day, she was releasing never-before-seen communications and documents that she claims show Fauci directed millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars allegedly towards gain-of-function research at the Wuhan laboratory, alleging that he worked with elements within the intelligence community to suppress information about a possible lab leak and lied allegedly to the Congress under oath in 2024. Listen into what she said.
Today, on my final day as Director of National Intelligence, I'm releasing never-before-seen communications and documents that expose exactly how Fauci worked with politicized career leadership in the intelligence community to suppress the truth about his actions, the virus's lab leak origins, and his role in directing U.S. funding for this dangerous research that caused immeasurable harm and countless lost lives.
Meanwhile, according to her, the declassified material includes internal communications allegedly, also whistleblower allegations and intelligence documents related to the investigations into the pandemic's origins, according to her. She also alleged that some of these communications conflict with Fauci's congressional testimony. Also alleging that while leading the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Fauci remained engaged with intelligence officials, allegedly. And during key reviews of COVID-19's origins and oversaw funding, allegedly, that supported coronavirus research involving bat viruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Remember, Dr. Fauci has repeatedly denied allegations that he misled lawmakers or concealed information. In fact, during a congressional hearing in June 2024, he described such accusations, as quote-unquote preposterous. COVID-19 first emerged in Wuhan, China in late 2019 and went on to claim millions of lives while triggering that unprecedented public health, economic, social crisis upending lives around the world. The question of how the virus originated remains unresolved, though, with scientific and intelligence investigations continuing to examine both natural as well as lab-related scenarios without actually reaching a definitive answer as of now. Last week, Abbott also released declassified intelligence claiming that the U.S. government backed more than 120 biological laboratories across over 30 countries, including a vast network of facilities in Ukraine. And with Gabbard stepping down as Director of National Intelligence, the U.S. President Donald Trump has appointed the replacement as the acting director. Let's now talk about a term which has a deep connection to the 1971 India-Pakistan war. That year, Pakistani submarine sank INS Kukri. It was the first time an Indian Navy warship was sunk in wartime after independence. The operation became one of the Pakistan Navy's most celebrated moments, but it did not change the course of the war. Pakistan, remember, suffered a crushing defeat. Indian forces dominated on land, in the air and at sea. The war ended with the liberation of Bangladesh, and Pakistan's presence in the Bay of Bengal was effectively wiped out. Now, 55 years later, that name is back in the headlines. Pakistan's first Chinese-built Hanko-class submarine arrived in Karachi. The submarine, in fact, was commissioned in China in April. But it is not just a submarine that is drawing attention. It is what a senior Pakistan Navy officer has said about it. Commodore Flareup, who led the flotilla escorting the submarine home, has spoken of a much bigger role. Flareup says This new class will give Pakistan the ability to maintain a presence in the Bay of Bengal. That is a region where Pakistan has had very little naval footprint since 1971. He made these remarks during a stop in Sri Lanka. In fact, he was speaking at an event on board the Pakistani frigate at the Colombo port. According to the Colombo-based publication, The Morning, Flareup described it as a game changer. He also said that Pakistan plans to induct 8 submarines of this class. 8 submarines of this class. That is a major statement because for decades, remember, the Pakistan Navy has been largely limited to the northern Arabian Sea. Just for context, the Bay of Bengal has remained a space where India enjoys clear geographical as well as strategic advantages, to say the least. It is home to India's Eastern Naval Command in Visakhapatnam. It is close to the strategic Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And it carries some of the region's most important trade and energy routes. The Bay of Bengal is also gaining greater importance in the wider Indo-Pacific competition. Its coastal states, including India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Sri Lanka. And the timing of Flareup's comments is also important here, coming in as Pakistan and Bangladesh are moving closer for decades after the 1971 war. In fact, relations between Dhaka and Islamabad remained strained. But that started to change in a way since the interim government of Mohammad Yunus took charge earlier in Dhaka. Contacts increased. Yunus also met the Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif twice. Pakistan's foreign minister visited Dhaka as well. The ties are expected to strengthen further with the new Tariq Rahman government in Dhaka. Direct Dhaka-Karachi flights, for example, have resumed after decades. The flights are operated. In fact, the trade is also growing. Bilateral trade rose by 27% between August and December of 2024. It also grew by another 20% year on year by December 2025. The two sides have also signed a memorandum of trade agreement. So Commodore Flareup's comments basically are about more than just a new submarine. It also speaks of Pakistan's desire to return to a region it lost after 1971. With 8 new of these submarines planned, at least that's what's being claimed. Pakistan wants to try and have a bigger naval role in the Bay of Bengal, it seems. But Pakistan should not forget that the Indian Navy has expanded considerably over the past 5 decades. It operates nuclear-powered submarines, 2 aircraft carriers, long-range maritime surveillance assets. India also maintaining a strong presence in both the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.